All right. Okay. So welcome everybody to this first Google Hangout about Forj. And this is Olivier. I'm here with two others that are working on the Forj project as well. So just maybe to introduce myself. So I work for HP in HP IT, and we have been working really hard on this project called Forj, and it's about to go public and available for everybody. So we wanted to give you an update on what that is and what it gives and what you can expect from it. And to talk about it, I have two other panelists. Rafael, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Rafael Garcia. I'm a director in HP IT, and been leading this effort to be able to create this new open source project, which we hope will make the life of developers easier, especially when it comes to establishing continuous integration environments. Edward?
Hi, and I'm Edward Ragosa. I'm a Forj architect, also working on Forj, and looking forward to talking about our first blueprint and what it can do and how we've been able to package it for you.
All right.
Thanks.
So yeah, just a few notes about the logistics. It's a Google Hangout, so it's recorded. So I don't know if you are watching it live at this moment or if you are going to watch it later on. In any case, there is, if you are looking at it live, there is a Q&A tool, and you are able to ask your questions. So please don't hesitate to use that. And because we are extremely open, I'll start to share my screen, and you will see that you are able to join us anytime. So we have a website for Forj, www.forj.io, and or 10, and it's actually IO, but and we also have an IRC channel on Freenode. So if you have any question that you want to ask us, if you have anything that if you want to join the Forj community, which I'm going to talk more about, feel free. This is open and available from anywhere on the internet. All right. So again, don't hesitate to use the Q&A tool, and be Rafael and Edward and myself are going to watch the questions. Okay. So I wanted to introduce Forj. So Forj is really three main things. So it's continuous integration and delivery tool that you can pick and choose from a catalog of pre-integrated, pre-configured development and delivery stacks. I'll show you that in a minute. By the way, we are going to do a little demo, and so that you can see how it looks like and what it is. Those CI and CD stacks can be instantiated anywhere you like. So the idea is that with Forj, you are not tied anymore to a SaaS offering or a non-premises offering, that a set of tools that you install for yourself or that you let someone else, a third party, install for you and run for you. Here you have the choice. Forj is all about choosing the stack that you like to use. So it can be a number of criteria which I'm going to talk about, but choosing the stack and let Forj mechanics install it for you where you want. So on a public cloud, on a private cloud, or something that is in between, with a little bit of SaaS and a little bit of private and a little bit of public. And last but not least, we release Forj as an open source project, and we really strive to have an open source community and get engaged with all of you and get the project in the hands of everybody. So that's what Forj is. And this is not something new. This is something that we have been working on for a little while. But bottom line is, what we are trying to do here is make something available that we want to make available for our HP, R&D, and IT. Right. So this is something that that's why you see that we are from HP IT. This is something that we do for ourselves. For HP, and also that we want to share and collaborate on with the greater community. So it's seeded by HP, and but definitely only seeded by, hopefully not only not managed only by HP. All right, so a few highlights there on Forge before we jump and and go to demos and screenshots and information. It's all about the choice. You know, you guys, you are developer, or you are an R&D team lead, or you are, you know, someone who is in need of a continuous integration or continuous delivery stack. And Forge, what we provide is choice. So we provide the choice of the development flow. So if you want to develop like an open source project, it's going to drive, you know, maybe the tools that you choose, how they integrate with each other. And if this is more a closed source project, this is going to drive other choices and other tools and other integrations. Depending on the technology that you use, that for the project, also this may drive some of the tools. For example, this may make a lot of sense to use a set of static code analyzers that are specific for JavaScript, whereas those static code analyzers may make no sense in a Java environment. And so we know that when you develop, there is no one-size-fits-all. At least that's our experience, and that's why the choice is really important. All right, so it's integrated anywhere. The idea is that the tools that we make available, that Forge makes available, I mean, Forge install them, some of them, but also it integrate them so that you really have an end-to-end process and something that works out of the box. So it's not only, you know, good enough to stand up a tool, configure it, and try to integrate with others. I mean, you really have something that you really need, something that needs to be an end-to-end solution to do continuous integration. And if you want to go even further, if you want to do continuous delivery with constant feedback loops and have a continuous delivery pipeline, you really need to have something that is to install something that is hard to do nowadays. I mean, very few groups or companies are doing that, but imagine that we automate all of it for you, and that you can take advantage of continuous integration or continuous delivery based on something that is already been stood up for you and can be installed where you want. Then this is really what Forge provides. And you guys jump in anytime you want to stop me. The other thing is that it's you know, it's easy enough to stand up a Git, Jenkins, or an SVN, and you may want to add some third-party capabilities and tools there. But at the end of the day, you have something that you are going to rely a lot on if you do development, and even more so if you do continuous delivery and DevOps and deployment. I mean, your company, your revenues may depend on that infrastructure. So you do not want to rely on something that is unreliable, not secure, not backed up, not monitored. I mean, you need some level of enterprise class kind of capability. So Forge comes with something, a function that we call Maestro. And Maestro is all about providing those additional capabilities that you know sits on top of the tools themselves, so that you can manage something as an end-to-end solution. All right. Raphael, do you want to take this Forge flow and capabilities?
Sure. So the concept is that a development team, whether they're sitting within a large enterprise or their individual team that's just started up somewhere, is in need of a continuous integration stack, a development environment that they're going to utilize. As we all know, there's a plethora of tools out there that you can get piecemeal and marry together, spend a few weeks integrating and make sure that it works the way you want it to work. Or you can look around and see if there's someone already operating in a way that is effective that you would like to emulate. And in our case, we looked to the way the OpenStack community was developing and emulated their development stack, their development workflow, and represented that as an integrated toolkit. So the idea is that if you want to emulate how OpenStack does it, you could take our development toolkit, install it, instantiate it within a cloud environment of your control, and be able to, out of the box, have an integrated, pre-configured, end-to-end continuous integration environment. And you just load in your code, essentially your project, start your project, and be able to operate as OpenStack operates. Now, the power of the Forj and the piece that we're open sourcing is the mechanism to be able to create additional blueprints with different development tools that are integrated.
Olivia, I think we lost Raphael there for a second.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you are. Okay.
Okay. So sorry about that. Somehow I got muted over here. So, so as I was saying, the OpenStack continuous integration environment or work model is the one that we chose to emulate at first as a starting point. However, our expectation is to be able to have the community contribute and help us seed that with additional kits, additional stacks that represent other ways of developing. But the concept is you would come to this Forj community and be able to select a stack that is already pre-integrated and pre-configured to match a workflow that you have an interest of emulating. You select that one, you install it, you have a provisioned environment in a private or public cloud environment, and be able to start working out of the box. In the future, as we develop more and more stacks and the community becomes more involved, the idea is that we have more and more choice. So things that are more specifically tuned to your use case would be available, again, out of the box. So Olivia, I'll turn it back to you unless you have anything else to add around that.
Olivia, we can't hear you. You're probably on mute.
Yes, thank you. So I just mentioned that this was the flow, and this is how things were working, and very easily in a few words, that's well basically what Forj provides. So and maybe to summarize, and I think Raphael mentioned it very clearly, but Forj is really a factory for software forges. So if you have been in the software industry for a while, you know what software forges are. There have been very popular software forges out there that provide usually source code management, defect tracking, some kind of forum or discussion and a few capabilities like that. Maybe sometimes automated builds with Jenkins or other capabilities, tools like that. But there we are trying to take it to another level where instead of having a Forj that you can either take advantage from that is already in the as a software as a service in the public cloud, or that you can install on your premises. What you are trying to do with Forj is create what we call blueprints. So they are really recipes to create Forges the way you like them. So it's all about making available processes end-to-end or continuous integration stack, continuous delivery stacks that really work out of the box and that you can instantiate where you want. So it's a factory for software forges, very clearly put, quickly put. The way you use Forj and the way what you reinstall, you really have two main ways to work with Forj. There is the first possibility that you have is to use, if you have an HP Cloud account, or if you have a cloud that is OpenStack enabled or OpenStack compatible. We stood up more as an example or as a way to showcase Forj, a portal from which you can choose your blueprints, so the recipe or the tool stack that you want to take advantage from, and select that basically in 3 clicks or 4 clicks, because you will have to provide your cloud credentials so that we can go ahead and so that Forj can go ahead and provision your Forj, your infrastructure. In 3 or 4 clicks, you will be able to get a software Forj that is really working and integrated. So it's again the catalog that we see, and provisioning and moving forward with provisioning the infrastructure. Before I show you how it looks like in the portal, There is want to make sure that there is that I mentioned that there is another way, and this is what we think is going to be the main way that you will be interested with Forge, is from a command line. So from the Forge command line, there is something that is specific so that you can select a blueprint that you want to install, and select where you want to install it, and have that stood up, have this entire infrastructure stood up, using this command line. So it's not magic. It's based on a lot of automation that we worked on, and it's also based on the library which is called Fog, which allows us to provision that continuous integration or continuous delivery stacks to many different cloud providers. Right now, we only can work with a number of limited ones because we wanted to start with something, but the technology allows us to move forward with a number of them. So, wanted to show you how Forge looked like. All right, so this is the Forge website, but the portal is looks like this. And again, this is not fully available or fully open at this moment, but you go ahead and just move forward with the portal so that you can see all of the stacks that are available for you. So one thing that I mentioned at the very beginning is that we showcase one development and testing stack that we think is really cool. This is the OpenStack one. So if you want to develop and test like the OpenStack project, then, and I really encourage you to check it out if you don't know what that is, on openstack.org. Just select this catalog item, and you will be able to, Forge is going to provision the entire infrastructure and configure it and link it and everything, so that you really can work like the OpenStack development project in a matter of, in less than an hour. So with having nothing when you start, with a few clicks you will be able to have that. As we mentioned, we have more stacks that we expect to get and that we are working on as well, but we also expect that the community will come with new stacks. So let's move forward with the OpenStack one. So very easily, I just selected my OpenStack Forge, and I want to get started and using it. So what the Forge portal is doing, it is actually provisioning all of the tools that compose this OpenStack Forge. So right at this moment, it's provisioning on the HP public cloud, and is going to configure the tools, stand up all of the capabilities that corresponds to, that enable you to work like the OpenStack project. All right. Just this is going to take a little bit less than 30 minutes, and but just like a pretty good cooking show, let me show you what the Forge looks like. So this is an a la OpenStack Forge, which exactly mimics the way that the OpenStack project works. Actually, there are pieces there that are not not enabled, but for the vast majority, it's going to enable you to work like the OpenStack project, where you will recognize some of the tools that are very well known, such as Gerrit, Jenkins. Zool is something that is specific to, well, not specific to OpenStack, it's also open source, but it's mostly used by OpenStack, and some other tools there. So it's all pre-integrated and working out of the box. This Gerrit project, Gerrit infrastructure, for example, here has been enabled, and well, it's been configured by Forge, and you are able to submit code changes, and and we'll start working with it right at this moment. We have other capabilities such as the CI status. So if you know OpenStack, well, just maybe to quickly describe what the OpenStack project, how they work, and who they are. So it's a huge open source project. It's the fastest growing open source project right at this moment. They have lots of thousands of developers, like more than 1,500 or so, that are really active. Their project, their open source project, I believe last time we checked, welcome up to 300 changes a day, and each and every of those changes are thoroughly tested and go through a number of gates and manual reviews and automated tests that is, well, extremely thorough. And to do that, they are using something that they call Zool. And Zool is a gating system. And you see here, this is a Zool status page that we have running on this particular Forge that Forge just stood up. And this Zool status page shows you what are the changes that are flowing through this basically continuous integration pipeline. So you see some of the pipelines there. It's empty because it has no activity. But if we just check quickly, the one from OpenStack, which is the live one, you will see there that there are lots of changes. And at the time of this recording, there are 45 changes that are going through the check gate. And the check gate is a very preliminary gate. So every time a developer checks in some code, it's going to go through this gate, and a number of tests are going to be run through. So this works for the OpenStack project, but you can replicate the exact same capabilities with the a la OpenStack blueprint that Forge provides out of the box. The Forge, as we mentioned, so it's still being stood up. So again, it's going to take half an hour or so. I don't know if it's going to be done by the time we conclude that presentation. But if you compare this timing, so right now we say it's 30 minutes. It's going to take a little bit more time to be fully configured. That's why we say less than an hour. But you can compare that by doing it yourself. And actually, for the ones that are running the OpenStack development infrastructure, they are specialists, they know this in and out. Last time they tried to do it manually for a conference, it took them something like 4 days. So you will compare an hour to 4 days for the one that really are the specialists of configuring and installing and running this thing. And you get it.
Yeah, and I think Olivier, to further your point, those that are inexperienced with OpenStack, it's weeks before they really have a fully integrated working environment that emulates Zool in all the rest of the pieces. So 4 days to 30 minutes for an expert, weeks to 30 minutes for a non-expert.
That's right, and you also are kind of guaranteed because it's automated and it's deployed per I would say code. You are also guaranteed that it's going to work, which is interesting.
Right, and just one more comment is this is the OpenStack kit, which is the first one we chose to emulate. Just as a reminder, the real power of Forge is that we're open sourcing the templates and the mechanisms for us creating the blueprint in order for others to be able to add different versions or combinations of tools, because like Olivier mentioned earlier, we don't believe that one size fits all. And so that's a guiding principle that we have under this, and we believe Forge gives some flexibility to be able to show other versions of combinations of tools that will work for your particular use case.
That's right.
Sorry, go ahead, Olivier.
And on this particular blueprint, we're showing how we can deal with orchestration for those CI tool sets to bring those online, bring those icons into visibility through the blueprint configuration, and manage your application here under a real CI system where everything is managed as code, even on the back end.
Exactly. So, and to that point, this is very flexible and configurable as well. So as user community decides to create a blueprint, a set of tools that combine in a different integrated model, their ability to change what's monitored, what's reported on this front end Maestro, this management console, is highly flexible, and so that it's on purpose. We built this thing to be highly flexible and abstracted wherever possible. Put the power in the hands of the user, basically.
That's right. So that's what we get. I mean, every time we click on to stand up a Forge, that's what we get, and we get that on so in less than an hour, and also on your own personal machine. So remember, we are not provisioning. I mean, Forge is not provisioning that in a place where you have no control. It's provisioning it where you want and where you need it, which is super important because today you are kind of either you completely put all of your intellectual properties or your source code, your defects, all of this continuous integration, and even now the continuous delivery stack in the end of a third party. I mean, there are very good third parties out there that are going to do an awesome job providing you the capabilities, but you still rely on the third party, and there are a number of stories there. Or you do everything yourself, and the story about setting up your CI and continuous delivery pipeline yourself, which takes weeks and also is not very reproducible. So if you want to apply it for the next project or the next activity that is slightly different and requires a separate continuous delivery chain, well, you will have to do it all over again. You will be able to probably leverage a lot of it, but you still are going to have a lot of rework. And there, with Forge, you can actually mimic and replicate it over and over again. So you may not want to create thousands of them, but at least you know that if times come that you need to have the same environment in parallel or do something different, or maybe just only on your workstation because you want to do some specific things, that's possible, and it's not a nightmare. So talking a little bit of the technology, it's a super busy picture, but I wanted to highlight that essentially there is this portal that we showed you, just the Forge website, forge.io. Then you have the options between a portal or a command line to provision the entire Forge. What I'm going really to highlight there is that the portal aspect is something that may be super interesting for enterprises that want to take advantage and make available continuous delivery or continuous integration stacks on demand for their R&D groups and teams. So it's a matter of actually exposing the choices that you have available, so the various blueprints that, by the way, can be all public, or maybe you want to create some of them that are private and just for you, or maybe you want to have some private that you want to contribute back to the Forge project and Forge community. So you have all of this mix of making available or keeping blueprints for yourself, but you can always expose all of those blueprints for internal usage, and a catalog is something that you need for that. So at HP we have some tools that take advantage, and that's what we leverage to propose the portal that we just showed you a couple of minutes ago. But you may also be simply, maybe a very small team, maybe a team of one that is very serious about continuous integration, and maybe you have other needs, and for you the Forge command line, which is going to do the same thing, is also going to be to have some advantages and be another option. What I wanted to mention about the command line and the difference between the central portal and the command line is that the command line also allows you to, work entirely behind your firewall. So you don't depend on anybody. There is nothing well, there is no third party that is going to be involved in setting up your infrastructure and running your infrastructure. So you can completely run all of this behind your firewall if you choose to do so. And then the Forge itself, so we mentioned the blueprints. I think by now you understand the various concepts there. They are described in YAML, which is popular those days. And they are digested by what we call Maestro. So maybe just, we already talked about Maestro, but Maestro is our orchestrator, our console. This is also the system that takes care of, so installing the blueprint per the blueprint source code, but also run the backups, run the monitoring, all of those, for also the authentication of the users of the Forge, so that those central functions are handled by one node, which we call Maestro. All of this material, so Maestro, the code of Maestro, the orchestrator, the console, and the blueprints are all open source. So again, so that you can really work and take advantage of Forj without any kind of strings attached or fear or anything there. All right, so this is the technology, and again, happy to discuss more about it on the Forj community. The other thing that we wanted to share a little bit, and we mentioned it before, the way that the OpenStack project works. It's the first blueprint that we are coming with, and just wanted to spend maybe 5 minutes on it and show you what that is, how it works, and what you get when you choose to go with that development model. So in the OpenStack project, this is a very simple representation of how they work, but essentially they have enhancement requests, which they call blueprints, and defects that they're all working on. So all of that generate changes. So actually to address them, you have to edit, to develop code and test it. So let's say that the developer is working on a defect and has a fix for it, and he wants to put that for review and inclusion in the OpenStack project. So it goes ahead, submit the change in Gerrit. So Gerrit being a source code review system that has been originally developed by Google for the Android system, and pushes its changes in the review system of OpenStack. And there is an equivalent review system for each of the Forj that are based on the OpenStack. This change is going through automated checks. So before the code actually gets merged or is made even visible to others in the OpenStack project, the change gets automatically reviewed and automatically tested with a special gate which is called check, which can be customized, but this is what you get out of the box. Then this same change, if it's okay, and actually Jenkins is going to vote, provide the result, and Zool is going to provide the voting capabilities with Gerrit. But if it's all successful, this change is going to move forward, and Jenkins will say, yep, this particular change is okay to move forward, and it has been successfully pre-tested. Then it goes through a human peer review, which is humans just looking at the change, checking it's okay. And if it's all okay, it continues and it goes through additional checks and automated checks, so that eventually this change, we know that it has been successfully tested and went to a peer review and pre-merge checks and post-merge checks, so that we know that this change, there's almost a stamp on it that, yeah, it can move forward and can be included in the master OpenStack code. So it's a simple, I would say, it's a very classical continuous integration, and it's more continuous integration than delivering that example pipeline. But well, again, you get that out of the box. All right, and I think we mentioned a couple of times how Forj is open source. This is interesting for a number of aspects, but well, if you are familiar with open source, you will understand that Forj has been seeded by HP, but we put that as an open source project. We really aim at having a very active community for Forj. So Forj is Apache V2 license, which we believe is best for that kind of project. So we welcome contributions, suggestions, improvements, comments. There is the IRC for that. If you really have like support questions or questions that are technical, maybe the IRC is not the best place. Maybe you want to ask your questions on Stack Exchange. If you actually have defects that you found, or if you want to have some enhancement requests, then we have a work items repository. We leverage GitHub for that. So all of the details are on Forj.io, but the community is trying to really have something that is well, really open. And because it's open source, you have the source, so it's really best, and you can really take advantage of it, but also contribute back. We really are looking forward to that, and you can safely invest with that solution if you choose to do so without without any kind of fear for this the continuous integration and delivery stacks that may be super critical for you. All right. Contributing to Forj, there is more documentation on the Forj website. But what we do is that we use the ALA OpenStack development process. So all of the issues are reported on GitHub. Then when you are, let's say that you want to fix a defect on Forj, then you will submit the patch on our review infrastructure, very similar to the OpenStack one. We'll talk about it. Actually, you can talk about it before on ARC. And then this is going to be a cycle and exchange process, but eventually the changes, if they are appropriate, will be merged and will be also published to GitHub. This is GitHub is going to be a mirror, or not a mirror, but it's a publication destination on our review system, which is based on Gerrit. Same or similar thing for the documentation. And for the documentation, there is, it's solely based on GitHub, and we leverage other services to publish read the docs documentation that you can consume. So docs.forj.io is the website where we publish the documentation. So kind of at the end of the material that we wanted to share, the demo that we wanted to share, but maybe as a summary, we think that, well, we do Forj, we, the initial seeders of Forj, we do that for ourselves. We do that because we think this is the way we want to do HP IT for R&D services. So we also think that there is a lot of value for other groups in the software development community, and that's why we want to collaborate on that. So Forj really helps you to take advantage of the cloud infrastructure that you may have set up lately or recently, or maybe you have been taking advantage of the cloud for a long time, but really taking advantage of that for R&D. This is what we think Forj does for you. So it's all based on blueprints. Really looking forward for contributions there. And as I mentioned a number of times, this is all available on Forj.io or available soon if this is because this show is recorded. And we also are there on ARC and Twitter.
Olivier, one comment about the community and the open source aspect. So it's one thing that that people will be able to take advantage of the Forj OpenStack kit. Also, people will be able to take advantage of any additional kits that are created. But what we really are hoping to establish is a community of a lot of thought leadership, a lot of combined thinking on best-in-class continuous integration environments. Things that maybe today are evident to some people, but not to everyone. Or things that aren't evident yet, that have not even been developed as of yet. We wanted to create a community that is thinking along these lines because we know that that's a huge enabler for productivity when it comes to developers.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a good remark, and also I don't think it's not that Forj wants to capture existing communities that may have invested in doing continuous integration or for specific technologies or things like that. I think this is not the point at all. However, if a specific community that has invested in, for example, Node.js continuous integration or Android CI, or maybe doing some Node.js continuous delivery with you name it. So some groups that have organized themselves in being specialized, or even some companies that have been doing that. I really think that Forj can provide a way to make those capabilities in the hands of more people and more maybe customers and prospects. And I mean, you don't have to go with Forj, but Forj gives you the way to showcase what you do and actually even foster the community, because it becomes so easy to replicate or to have the infrastructure and emulate what you have been doing maybe manually. That it's it's a big enabler for a number of engagements that you may have. So.
Yep, and we'll be active participants on IRC and Google Groups and Google Plus. So if you have any questions or you're just trying to get started, join us on #Forj on Freenode IRC, and we'll be right there. I'll be Winlock.
Oh yeah, we always like to have some nicknames, but you'll find out about it soon enough.
Yeah.
All right, just checking the questions. I see that there are no questions that have been asked. That's fine, but again, IRC is there for that. So thank you everybody, and we'll talk again very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.